Well, hello, boys and girls. I'm going to show you a little something. Alright, wheel bearing, axle bearing, whatever you want to call it. Well, we're going to press a new one on. I'm going to show you. Most people take a chisel and cut and do all sorts of crazy stuff to an axle to get them off, okay? I use a torch. As you can see, there's the damage you get from a torch. That's not really damage, it's more just like slag. I mean, I could work at and clean it up some more. Right here's some slag I still got to get off, which is not, you know, it's not damage. Like right here is just a little drop of slag. It's not cut into the axle. And there's a few pits where I actually took the chisel to it, you know. I done this in the dark, so if I'd have done it in the daylight, you wouldn't have had that. But if you know how to use a torch, it's not dangerous to do this. But anyway, when you get done, here's how you clean it up. Take a little brake clean. Take a little like 220 sandpaper, put a little spray it, brake clean, and basically you're gonna wet sand this thing and just polish it up. As you can see, I have. It's polished up good. It's not perfect. It ain't ever gonna be perfect. There's no need in it. You just wanna clean it up so you can press a new bearing on. But anyway, I'm gonna show you how to press the bearing on here in a few minutes. So just remember that. This is actually left over from old tow mater. This is a used piece of paper. Sprayed it with a little brake clean, polish it up. I'm gonna do a little more work on it. I'm going to get this right here, that little piece right there, get it cleaned up. That is the mating surface. It's where the bearing presses up against. We're going to clean that up, and then we're going to clean up the seal surface because it looks like crap. We're going to clean it up. So anyway, stay tuned. Okay, I know the way the light's shining in here, it's not optimal, but we cleaned up the sealing surface. It's got some marks in it, it looks like, but I mean, you can't feel these. It's just basically stains in the metal. So we've got a good sealing surface, so we're going to have a good seal. We've got a good mating surface for the bearing. I got this little spot cleaned up. As you can see, there's still a little speck or two of slag. Nothing important. We're not worried about it. And apparently I did just nick the corner of that. Like I said, I did it in the dark. It's not harmful. If you gouge the living piss out of this or turn it blue, you don't need to use the axle. But if you know what you're doing with the torch, you can cut them off. You can also use a cut-off wheel, cut through the bearing, or through the wedding ring, as I like to call it, and cut through the bearing and take a chisel and smack it and it'll split. You can do that too. I think I said that earlier. I don't know, it's been a day or two. We've had some hellacious weather here. It's been pouring down rain. But anyway, you can get all this off. So the one thing you do need to remember when you're putting one of these back together, remember you got to have the retainer plate, the seal, the bearing, and the wedding ring. There has been people press on, put the retaining plate on, press the bearing and everything on, forget the seal. There has been people put the seal on, put the bearing on, put the wedding ring on, and go, crap, I forgot the retaining ring. The retaining ring is about the only darn thing that you can actually cut it in half and weld it back together. I've done that before. Because once you put this on, forget it. You got to destroy it to destroy the bearing to get it off. If you got to replace the seal and your bearing's good, you're screwed. Just cut it and put a new bearing on it. Big bearing Fords, the ones that do not have the seals inside, they have it outside. They've updated the design of the bearing into a one-piece bearing for most companies. You need to, if you want the traditional race and bearing, buy a national brand bearing. The number is Apple 20. It'll fit all the big bearing Ford 9 inches, trucks, Broncos, all of it. It's A20. And from what I understood, like I said, I ain't checked this to be fact, it is no longer in production. So if you own one of these trucks, go spend the $40 and buy you a set of bearings. Well, in your case, you may have to spend more, closer to $60. I don't know exactly what the out-the-door price is on them, but I'm sure they're more than what I pay for them. But go buy you a set of bearings, because you're going to have to deal with that one-piece deal. And when you deal with it, you have to hammer this blasted thing in with a sledgehammer about it to get the race part of the bearing to seat into the axle tube. It's bad news. And then to get it out, you go use an axle puller. You know, more tools, more rental tools for most people, etc., etc. So get you some two-piece bearings while you can still get them. And you can pull these axles plain as day, especially if you want to change the grease in the rear end. The only thing you can do is pull the axles, jerk a stump. There's no other way. Well, there is another way, but you've got to get it apart first. You can actually put a drain plug in the bottom of these, in the bottom of a Ford 9-inch housing. You can actually take a, what works real well is a Dana 44 front cover, cut the bung out, take the plug, go to the bottom of a Ford 9-inch after you've got everything out of it, take you either a drill a hole. Of course, you got to drill a pretty good size hole. Best thing to do is just take a torch, blow a hole in it, take a die grinder, clean it up, clean out all your mess. and then set the bung that you cut out of the cover down inside the axle housing, and weld it in. And then you can take the plug out of the bottom and drain it and refill it from the top, which is really good. You know, I should do it. I've done it on other trucks. I ain't gonna do it on this one. There ain't no point in it. Don't drive it enough. The axle grease has been changed. Piss on it. But you can do that. Just make sure before you do it, make sure you're off center at the bottom from your ring gear. Make sure you're not gonna have any interference. I don't know exactly what the clearance inside the housing between the gear and etc. is, but I've just never put it in line with anything. Put it off to the side, you know it'll clear, and at least that way you can drain it. You know, it saves you some aggravation in the future, because them things are just a booger to change grease in. You know, and I've actually had one where the side plug into the feeler plug was stripped, and after I took it apart, cleaned it all out, put it back together, and found out the plug was stripped, couldn't get it out. So, needless to say, I bet yous are sitting here going, oh, how did he get the grease in it? Did he take it back out? Did he sit and he play with it? Wrong. We jacked up I can't remember if it was the driver's or the passenger side of the truck. We jacked up just that one side and left the axle out, filled it through the tube, and put the axle in and set her down. She was full. And that truck went bye-bye, and it never had a leak. So, you know, I think I put probably 20,000 miles on it and I sold it. You know, it's somebody else's problem after that. It could have been got out with a little bit of effort. You could put a little heat to it and to the housing around the plug, and you could have got it out, but you know, I wasn't fooling with it. Right now, in the time you get this axle out, if you got any bad lug studs, right now is the absolute time to replace them. You can take a sledgehammer, 3 pound, just bang them and they'll fly out. And while you've got it in the press, you can just pop a new one in. You can just set it off center in the press where the stud will go through the plate. Press it right in, pretty as you please. You can also pull these in with lug studs. Most people know that. I've not actually had to do it, or I'd just showed you by now. But anyway, we'll show you the pressing of this. I've rambled enough. You don't want to listen to me rattle. Well, I hope yins can see something. Get ready for a long video, that's all I can say. Because I'm going to show you the details and the ins and outs of this crap. Well, anyway, as you know, I've showed you the axle. We got the axle. New parts. You're talking about an antique box. And I kind of figured from a U.S. company that we'd get a friggin' U.S. bearing, but woo, do not drop new bearing. Make me unhappy. Read the friggin' thing. Japan. Well, drop the new bearing. See what I do for you guys? I make videos, I drop my brand new friggin' bearing. Wonder if I heard it. I don't know, I think it landed around that race. I hope to God it landed on that race. We're fixing to find out real quick, see if I heard it. I don't think we heard it. If we heard it, it ain't going in, that's for darn sure. There's some grass clippings in there. They won't hurt much, but they don't need to be there. I have to wipe it off. Make sure I didn't hurt this bearing any. Not sure exactly how it landed. Looked to me like it was running sideways there for a minute. Yep, she's good. We did sort of miscombobulate the booger. This outer race right here should, well, no, that's right. That's how they are. It's just normally that it's not as it is. It's normally stuck down with the grease. But anyway, we're good. I just wanted to make sure, Lord mercy, break a new bearing. But anyway, there's a race that goes in the axle, and the wedding ring. We've got the seal over here. There's the seal. And my dumb honey, and we're going to drop the seal too. We'll drop everything we touched today. But anyway, remember what I said about the retainer plate? Not forgetting it? Well, guess what? Yep, you guessed it. I forgot it. I didn't tote it down here. Didn't tote it down here to the shed, so I'm going to have to go back and get it. I'll resume and show you how to press this on. Okay, boys and girls, we're back. This is the retaining plate. Notice all the chisel marks on it. Notice, you can tell I've heated it a little. Notice that it's flat. Yep. There's a long story. This was bent. It was not bent by me, and that's what's caused me to do all this. This axle was actually out of my parts truck, and as you can tell, it's still a little cattywampus. It's close enough though. It's close enough to retain and do what it's supposed to. This top edge is a little like I said, a little cattywampus, but we should be all right. I don't see a problem. It looks a little funny on the outside, but it seems to be all right on the inside. But anyway, I straightened it out. I heated it and took a chisel and a hammer and I flattened it out. As you can tell, this top edge is a little crooked, but that shouldn't interfere with anything. If it does, I guess, well, we learned from our mistakes, but I don't have another one, so this is what we're going to use. Somebody else had forced it back in. They didn't get the seal going back in like it's supposed to, and they just put it on and it mushroomed itself into a V, so I had to fix it. But anyway, I knew this when I put it in the truck, but it was, like I said, it's part of that accident, and I put a little RTV around it and put it together and hoped for luck, and it leaked. Well, okay, whatever. Anyway, here's a retainer plate that has to go on the axle before you do absolutely anything. The seal, which I throw on the ground, which is right here. First thing we're going to do is get this seal ready. You think, okay, you got a seal out of the box. You just took it out of the box. What you got to do to get it ready? Well, we're going to show you what you got to do to get it ready. What you do is you get you a big old blob of grease, and you grease the living daylights out of this seal. I'm telling you, you just cake it in there. You cake this stuff into that groove, which I know you can't really see. I'll show you when I get done. But you cake it into this groove. I mean, just cake it in. More grease the better. You put a little around the outside edge of it, which will do two things. One, it'll actually catch dirt, keep it out of the seal. And if it does come in contact with anything on the putting together process, like say the backing plate, you know, or the retainer plate, when you're putting it together, you don't have to worry about it ripping this rubber out of this seal, which it should be connected, but still yet. And before you put it in, you're actually going to apply either grease or a little RTV around this just for sealer. I use a little RTV just because I don't want to take it back apart. You put a little grease on the inside edge of this seal, just grease it up real good. And before we actually put it in the truck, we're going to bathe it in gear oil. I mean, slather it dripping and put it in. But anyway, there, that's taken care of. The next step you got to do, I know you can't see me, I'm on a camera frame, but I've got it set to where you can see the press, which is where we're fixing to go to. Next step you need to do is take some good penetrating oil. Just something that's real good and slick, but real thin. Some people say you use gear oil for this, whatever. Gear oil is just too thick and creates too much issues. You need just a fine oil to do this, and this stuff right here is a fine oil. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your axle shaft. So I'm going to try to pull it up here where you can see it. Surely you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. And we're just going to, you see what I'm doing? I'm just slathering the shaft right there. I just want it dripping wet. That's so when we go to spray or go to press everything on, it's got just a little fine oil just to slide down on there. That's what we want. So we got that dripping wet. So out of camera shot, I guess, considering there's not much other way of doing this, we're going to stack it. Well, nah, we can do it. We're going to stack up the parts. We're going to use a bearing splitter in the press just for, basically it's a little more true than those plates. So we're going to put a bearing splitter in the press like yay. Yeah, we're going to have fun getting this axle in there. Trust me. This might turn out to be an adventure. I don't know. We're going to take our backing plate. Let's see. No. Yes. No. Yes. Yeah, boys and girls, I got to think about this. Backing plate needs to go. Actually, the backing plate needs to stack on last. I'm an idiot. I'm thinking. I'm backwards here. The wedding ring needs to be put to the side, which is this. Put it to the side. You don't need it yet. Take the bearing, pop it out of the race. We don't even need the race down here, period. It needs to be in the axle of the truck. I'll show you that. Take the bearing. The bearing and the seal needs to become one right now. The seal slides up in the axle. The seal actually seals on to the bearing. I'll try to show you. See how it's rubber inside? It actually seals onto that ring in the bearing, and it's all just kind of presses together like a sandwich. They actually make this bearing, it's all in one. I don't like it. I think I've said that before. It's just a pain in the ass. But anyway, that needs to become one. That's become one. The next thing that needs to go on is your retainer plate. Always remember your retainer plate's got a notch in it that always goes to the bottom. It's for weepage, so it'll run out and not get in your brakes. So it won't come out around this, which everything weeps. There you're all put together. Okay? Pretty simple. That's how that goes together. Make for damn sure that you have this retaining plate this seal and this bearing, okay? This has to be all on there. That's the reason you stack it up ahead of time. You count it from the outside in. Okay, I need to have this, I need to have this, I need to have this. It's all there. Okay, it's all there. The other thing I did not show you, and I'm at a loss where I put it. Here's the old inner shell of the old bearing. Where I split it with a torch, I actually split it just a little more earlier, and I heated it on this back side and took a screwdriver and actually spread it out. So I sprung it. It's bigger than the axle. This should just slide over the axle. We're going to check that now, because if it don't, we're in trouble. We're going to pull this axle up here, and this should just slide right down over it. Should just be, aha! She does not slide down over it. So we are back to punt one. We're going to have to work on it. This has got to slide over this, because what we're going to use this for is we're going to use this against that bearing spreader, and we're going to put it against this bearing like so, and we're going to use this to press the bearing on, is what we're going to use it for. But like I said, I screwed up. I didn't get it wide enough, so I'm going to go take a torch to this and bend it a little more and make it fit, and then I'll be back with you and I'll show you how to press this on. But if you don't have a torch, my friends, if you've cut this off with a die grinder, that's fine. You did. Once you've got it off the axle, just take your chisel and put it in it and drive it with a hammer and spring the darn thing. I just didn't spring it enough. You know, I just didn't. I want it to be a loose fit, but I want it to still fit on this inner race. I do not want it on this outside ring, because if you put pressure on this, you just destroyed the bearing. But anyway, I'm going to go spread this. I'll be back. This is real time, so don't get mad at me for making a 5-hour video. This is real time crap. You want to see detail and my screw ups? I'm showing you. Alright, we're back. Darn it. Well, anyway, here's your axle shaft. Here's my re-engineered pressing tool, okay? If you notice, it goes down all the way. It works. I mean, like I said, this is crude and rude, but this is real life, my friends. That right there is plenty sufficient enough. The ends of it are smooth, so we're good. We're ready to ride, we're ready to roll. But anyway, back to the drawing board. We're going to start stacking this up. I've got to grab me a pair of pliers over here, or something, real quick. I've got a piece of slag on this whatchamacallit I'm going to take care of. But like I said, you know, this is real life, one-on-one, real time. This ain't any, this ain't no staged bull crap. This is doing a time bearing. That's what it is. So we're doing a little modifications right there. First thing we're going to do now that we've did that is we're going to take our bearing, and like I said, this is a taper, but it should be the same size on both sides. We're not 100% sure of that. We're going to check it, make sure that we're on it. It works. I got a little tit right there on that side, but we're going to put that in the bearing splitter and put it in the split so it won't affect nothing. We're going to press straight, and we're going to press this darn thing on there. What you got to do is you got to put your little homemade apparatus, put it in your bearing splitter. It's the first thing you got to do. Then you have got to get all this stuff together. The easiest way to actually do this is you got your apparatus there, and there's your assembled pile of crap, right? As you can see on the press. Well, we've got to get the axle involved in this situation. So the best thing to do is just pull it all off the press and slide this stuff down on the axle one piece at a time. Put your retainer on. I know you can't see this. Put your bearing on. Put your little tool that you made on the axle shaft, and then put your bearing splitter on the axle shaft. I'll show you right now what I did. You got your retainer, your bearing, your seal, and your splitter. Because you've got to flip it up yet again the opposite direction to get it in the stern press, and we may have difficulties. We may not be able to fish this in here. I don't think we're going to be able to. Nope, we're going to drop the table. So I hope I don't take you out of camera shot. If it does, I'll have to figure out something. I haven't actually done one of these in a long time. Let me see if you're still in the shot. Oh gosh, Ends are barely in it. Let's see if we can bring this camera up a hair more. Ends are actually sitting on a boat with a wrench under it, but it works. With a wrench under the camera. Alright, what we've got to do now that we've got this mess in here, granted it weighs 50 pounds, make sure your bearing splitter looks good like it is. I think I actually want to tighten this booger up a little more, bring it a little closer together. Like I said, you don't have to use a bearing splitter. I just think that that's the best way of doing this. It's more uniform, it's more true, and you can support it on the press plates. So we brought it together. That looks pretty blasted good, I think. We've got our, we got our slit and our little tool right there. We've got our, put our press plates in as tight as we can get them to it, which the axle's still clear on it. We're going to make sure we're lined up. Like I said, I had a little burr on that, so we're going to put that in the gap of the jaws, so you don't have to worry about it. We've got the bearing on, we've got the axle in. Now the thing we have to do is line it up with the pin on the press, and we're good to go. We're going to press it in. This right here should go pretty easy. The wedding band will go a little harder. I should have got a little something to put in here, but I think we got enough reach on the ram. If we don't, we'll stick a socket or something in there. I didn't bring my hammer down here, but yeah, we can use that 3-pound hammer. So you just want to make sure you're centered, because you don't want to really press this at an angle. You make sure you're centered in the center of that hub, or the center of the axle hub, whatever you call it. And we're going to slowly press, and we're going to watch our bearing and make sure we're not on the cage. We're moving, boys and girls. The only thing you have to worry about is here in a minute. You have to worry about your retainer ring getting caught on the seal surface. And as long as it shouldn't. We're good. This is going to go real tight. I mean, it's a lot of pressure to push this on. We're going to press it until it seats. That's all we're doing. You've got to watch your bottom and make sure that it don't slip. And this will actually bottom. When it bottoms are good. Should be pretty close. Alright, we have bottomed. That's your first part right there done. I shouldn't have probably released that all the way just because I'm going to have to run it back down, but what the heck. It's just showbiz, right? I'm going to pull this out of here very blasted carefully and show you what I've done, even though I wouldn't necessarily drag it out for nothing, but you're going to pull it out. You're going to make sure that you didn't screw up your bearing, it's still loose. You're making sure everything's on. Your seal's on. Your retaining plate is on. We're getting there. The only thing left is this wedding band. A lot of people say to heat the blasted thing with a torch, cherry red, tap it on, do all this bunch of crap, heat and cool, heat and cool. Don't do that. It's not good. On this wedding band, we don't need our adapter. We're not worried about it nicking it. It's not going to hurt a thing in the world, because it's not, it's not pressing. Like we ain't got a shell of a bearing to worry about or anything else. And we're going to put this back in here, like we had it. Line everything back up, and we're going to press that wedding band on there. That's what we're going to do. We're going to give it another shot of power lube. Another little shot of that just for slickums purposes, makes things go together better. Like I said, a lot of people want to use gear oil. I don't believe in using a thick oil in the process of pressing, because if you use a darn thick oil, it's just more friction going on. A real fine oil works better. It's like in a gun. You can use 80-90 weight gear oil on the gun action and the darn thing won't work. You use a real fine oil, it works. Musical instruments, same way. They don't slide as free. Real thin oil You could use something like WD-40, but WD-40 is a product that I will tell you is junk. I do not endorse it. I would not use it. If you sent me 5 gallons of it, I would probably use it for weed killer. I don't even know if it do that. It's primarily water. You can spray it on bare metal and it'll rust overnight. I don't like WD. But we're pressing. This wedding band is a little harder to press. You'll feel it, it's real tension. I think there's a 5/1000 interference or something here. There's quite a bit of interference on these. But you want to press it. And this wedding band is what actually holds the price of the axle in. See what I mean? This is a 20-ton press, and she's pressing with all her might. And it's going, but it ain't going happily. Whew, a little power loop in my face there, boys. I think we're bottomed. Not 100% sure. We're going to take it out. We're going to look. Because you don't want to be stupid and press till you break your bearing splitter. But I think we're bottomed. I think we're good. I think we've officially installed it. Make sure your bearing's still free. It is. Wedding ring's down. I'm pretty sure it's... Yep. I don't know if you can see, but it's dead against the bearing, and that's all it is. It's a retainer. That's all it is. I've got nasty off the hands and everything else in this bearing. What I'm actually going to do is spray it. Actually, I probably won't spray it. I'll probably just wipe it off real good. I mean, it's not grit, not nasty, but I'm going to grease the living daylights out of it with grease and put it in. So that's how you do the bearing. I'll show you putting it back in. So that's it for now. You're just going to have to wait a minute and watch the end of time and listen to me ramble, because I gotta wipe my hands off. You know, we're looking at a $1,000 camera that we're not going to touch with greasy hands. See, I spend this money to make these videos for you guys. And there's certain people out there complaining about them because they want to see Mater. They want to see Mater. That's all they want to see, is they want to see Mater. And you know, I'm out here dragging around a $1,000 camera and grease and crud and videoing this stuff for you. You know, all I can say is, if I video it, I think it's worthy. And if I think it's worthy, y'all need to at least appreciate it, whether you want to watch it or not. See y'all.